Somebody asked me recently what radicalized me, and I honestly had to laugh because, first, seriously, nothing did. And somehow in 2026, that has become a controversial answer. But second, I have never thought of myself as radical. I have thought of myself as a normal human being. So, I did what I always do when something gets stuck in my head. I put on music. And at some point, Depeche Mode came on, and there it was. Hey everybody, I'm Rachel. Welcome back to the channel. So there's this song, People Are People, and there's this line in it that's so simple it sounds almost stupid. People are people, so why should it be that you and I should get along so awfully? I have been hearing that song since 1984. 40 years later, it's still not a radical idea. It's just still waiting for an answer. I grew up the youngest of 9 kids in a conservative Catholic family. Parochial school from kindergarten through graduation. Gen X kid. Grew up in the 80s, so when someone looked at me and said, "How the hell did you turn out the way you did?" I actually had to think about it for a minute. And the honest answer is, I was a weird kid who spent a lot of time in her bedroom with headphones and a lot of music that was asking questions that nobody around me was asking out loud. Here's the thing about being that kid, though. I wasn't some deep philosophical teenager sitting around contemplating the meaning of life. I was insecure, not comfortable in my skin, didn't really feel good enough, didn't really like myself much, didn't think other people liked me much either. I was that kid. And if you were that kid too, you know exactly what I mean. My friend group was kind of hard to label. I was kind of a misfit who didn't really fit neatly into any one category, and I somehow found a few groups that were okay with that. But misfits spend a lot of time in their own heads, in their rooms, in their cars with the music playing and the volume all the way up. Music was my constant, and I mean everything. Depeche Mode and Queen, Springsteen and Prince, Michael Jackson, Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, Whitesnake and Waylon Jennings. No theme, nothing curated, just music. And I listened to all of it like it mattered. And here's the thing about being a Gen X kid in the 80s that I don't think gets said enough. Or maybe it actually gets said too much. There were no screens in our rooms competing for our attention, no algorithm deciding what came next, no social media, no 300 channels. You put on a tape, an album, or a CD, and you just sat with it, or you danced around your room. Whether you meant to or not, you were actually listening, because there was literally nothing else to do. Now, that sounds like a complaint. It is not. It's actually the whole point. Because the music was telling me something. At the time, I just didn't know that's what it was doing. I wasn't thinking about politics or ideology. I was just a kid who really listened to the words. Some people hear the beat, and the beat is great. I love it too. But I also heard the argument every single time. Now, here is where I have to give the 80s a little bit of context. Because like I've said, every generation faces some pretty scary shit. We just don't realize how scary it is until we look back at it. Ours was no different. AIDS was killing people, and nobody wanted to talk about it honestly. The drug war told us, just say no, and it handed us a frying pan and an egg and told us that was our brain. And we were all supposed to just nod along. Nuclear anxiety and the Cold War were a constant low hum underneath everything. The world felt like it was one bad decision away from ending, and the music didn't look away from any of it. People Are People asked the simplest moral question imaginable. Why do we hate each other when we're all just people? Then there was Safety Dance. That song is a freaking fun protest about individual freedom. You know, you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Be unapologetically yourself. Ignore the crowd. You know, we had Queen wanting to break free, Springsteen saying no surrender, Tears for Fears telling everybody that they want to rule the world and not making it sound like a compliment. The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink were asking why we put each other in boxes in the first place. And then Run DMC and Aerosmith walked into a room together and made Walk This Way. And literally, And yes, I mean literally. Go watch the video. Knocked down a wall between two worlds that weren't supposed to mix. Nobody asked permission, they just did it. None of it felt political to me, not then. I wasn't sitting in my bedroom thinking about social movements or which side of anything I was on. I was just a kid with a Walkman trying to get through high school. And for the record, the Walkman was probably the greatest invention of my youth, and I will die on that hill. 40 years later, I still have earbuds in everywhere I go. Fixing dinner, working on my laptop, shopping, walking the dog. Some things just don't change. The music is still constant, still asking. Now, these weren't new ideas. They weren't even particularly brave ideas. Prejudice and fear were everywhere then, too. I think even more out in the open than people wanted to remember. The music wasn't reflecting a world that had figured it out. It was asking questions a world that hadn't figured it out just kept ignoring. And maybe that's why it stuck with me, because the questions kept being relevant. Something was forming without my permission and without me even realizing it. Viktor Frankl said that meaning isn't always something you seek consciously. Sometimes it finds you in the middle of just trying to get through the day. Now, I had no idea who Viktor Frankl was at 15. Parochial schools do not teach philosophy. But I understand now that that's exactly what was happening in that bedroom with that music. Alan Watts talked about how we become who we are through osmosis, through the water we swim in without noticing it. I was swimming in music that was asking questions about humanity and empathy and freedom. And it was slowly, kind of quietly, shaping the way I saw people. Not a political identity, not an ideology, just this quiet, stubborn sense that people are people. That cruelty isn't inevitable. That being yourself, actually unapologetically yourself, does not require anyone else's permission. I didn't learn that from a political party. I didn't learn it from an ideology. I learned it from a whole decade of music that was quietly refusing to accept that cruelty was just the way things were. And here's what I keep coming back to. The same music was playing for everybody. Same era, same songs, same cultural movement, same scary world. Some of us came out one way. Some people came out the complete opposite direction. Same raw material, completely different outcome. So, what was the difference? I've thought about this a lot, and I don't think it was just the music. I think it was whether you were actually listening to what it was asking. Not the beat, the question underneath it. Because the questions weren't asking you to pick a side. They weren't asking you to join anything, or believe anything, or vote for anything. They were just asking, why? Why do we treat each other this way? Why do we make it so hard? Why? And what you did with that question, whether you sat with it or walked away from it, that part was on you. Nothing right or wrong about it, just what we took from it. That insecure kid in the bedroom with her headphones, hell, I am not even sure that I'm totally over that now. But at some point, I just decided I didn't care what people thought of me. And honestly, that's what got me over it. Not therapy, not some giant breakthrough. Just a decision, quiet and private, like everything else that actually makes us who we are. If you're still that kid, and some of you are, I know you are, that's not a life sentence. It's just where you are right now. You don't have to be confident to absorb good things. You don't have to have it figured out. Sometimes you're just hiding in your room with headphones on and something quietly forming anyway. Let it. So, what radicalized me? Nothing. I just never thought that basic human decency was a particularly radical position to hold. A kid in her bedroom with her Walkman, no algorithm, no distractions, nowhere else to be, and a question so simple it almost sounds stupid. People are people, so why should it be that you and I should get along so awfully? 40 years later, I'm still asking. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of you, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.